Commander Dammit's Steel Legion boasts impressive columns of tanks, bolstered by air support, rough riders and mechanised infantry. But the Ork warlord Kundra has an embarrassment of vehicles, a cult of speed, battle wagons, super heavies and stomper mobs with stuck-ass formations to dominate the skies. There will be no pushover for the Steel Legion. As both armies form up and observe the opposition on the horizon, a stillness and silence falls over the desert, broken only by a whistling wind which promises death. Suddenly, an orchestra of engines roar to life, and the orcs burst into song, their guttural anthem a crunching ode to violence. Two Ork fighter bombers soar across the grey sky and take down two vultures. A Death Strike missile is launched, but the technicians make a mess of their attack and the Warp Vortex missile explodes spectacularly but harmlessly in the desert. On the left, 9 battle fortresses lurk near the bluff, a critical objective for the Imperial Army, and release a firestorm of ordnance against the Leman Russ and Shadow Sword super heavy tanks. With a deep boom, the Shadow Sword is torn asunder and 4 Leman Russ are decimated. The Imperials send 3 fearsome volcano cannon shots at the Super Stomper, and their power and accuracy tear it apart as it collapses upon itself with a deafening clang, plumes of smoke from the Stomper, and destroyed wagons blacken the grey skies over Hell Almein. Seeing their flank endangered, Imperial Commander Dammit sends forces forward to support. A mechanised infantry detachment pass the Stormblades at the very moment they unleash their fearsome plasma cannon and a storm of missiles that obliterates a battle fortress column. The change of directives throws the Imperial forces into confusion. The Baneblades and Stormtrooper detachment can only make a rambling advance in the central front and find themselves cut off from the hotspots of the battle. While the Orcs pour yet more tanks to support their flank attack, another mob of Stompers pushes into the centre of the battlefield. A Marauder bomber squadron, flanked by Thunderbolts, dives from the sky to strafe the Stompers, but the thick armour of these lumbering behemoths proves impenetrable. On the opposite flank, the Imperials are stunned to see the Orcs hold their line. The cult of speed, followed by Big Boss Kundra on a battle wagon and a column of tanks simply sit in overwatch, inviting the human invaders onto them. The Imperial forces respond by sending a mechanised infantry detachment, rough riders and a Baneblade super heavy tank on a march towards them. Commander Dammit communicates to General Daikun of his progress, but although the battle has only just begun, things are not progressing as smoothly as anticipated. The Orcs on the right Imperial flank launch a fierce counter-attack. The remaining Super Stomper, followed by 6 smaller Stompers, devastate the Leman Russ Company, reducing half of the tanks to burning piles of molten slag. To make matters worse, a shot punches through the plasma reactor in a Shadow Sword super heavy, the huge ensuing explosion lighting up the battlefield. Columns of Ork tanks roll forward and pummel the Shadow Swords with a hurricane of heavy fire. Unable to withstand such a ferocious attack, a blaze breaks out in a second Shadow Sword, and both the crew and Super Heavy are consumed by the blaze. With the Orcs beginning to dominate the battlefield, Dammit immediately orders the infantry mechanised company to reach the weak front and open fire on the battle fortress. The remnants of the 1st Company of Leman Russ recklessly engage the Orc fortress. In the face of a punishing salvo of cannon fire, the Orcs are forced to back off into the desert, but not before the last fortress is hit by a Death Strike missile, which, with a shattering explosion of sound and light, sends the fortress into the warp. Imperial forces attempt to consolidate, with Sentinels quickly advancing, but they're immediately forced to retreat by the return fire of the Orc tanks. In the middle, the Stormtroopers detachment reach the battle wagon of Big Boss Kundra with a double move, but the Orcs are ready for them. A column of Orc tanks break away from the centre and hit the Baneblades. 2 are forced to retreat, while the 3rd is left behind, shattered. On the left flank, Dammit orders his forces to hit the Orks with everything they've got. The Baneblade Company takes up a key position at the Oasis and is supported by other Imperial forces. Las Cannon and Battle Cannon blaze as Thunderbolts and Marauder bombers unleash hell upon the Orks. Miraculously though, the Orks seem undaunted by this onslaught, and two waves of Orc Stuckers launch a counter-strike, thinning the Stormtroopers' ranks by half and forcing them to flee. Suddenly Kundra orders an abrupt end to Overwatch and rouses his Orcs to face down the Dahume enemy. Cult of Speed, Kundra's battle wagon mob, and a column of tanks advance rapidly to engage with Dammit himself. One of the Baneblades is blown apart in the attack, and with the Orc ranks threatening to overwhelm them, Dammit is forced into a strategic retreat. Once again red blood, not green, stains the sands. With his plans and forces in tatters, Dammit's new objective is to delay the Orcs for as long as possible, thereby giving his superior Daikun more time to besiege Gorka. But with the screams of the dying and dense black columns of smoke and flame filling the air, it will be hard to rally his troops. Commander Dammit is shocked and astonished as the Orcs launch an audacious pincer movement, encircling him as they attack. Gritting his teeth, he does not waver before his troops as he faces up to his doom, but within he is broken and full of regret. War Boss Kundra, riding his battle wagon, shouts the order to assault through a huge megaphone. The entire Cult of Speed and Kundra's warhorde rampage the HQ Imperial detachment like a plague of locusts. Soldiers and their screams fall silent under the bloodthirsty Orcs axes and war tracks. The few Leman Russ and Chimera tanks are destroyed by dozens of Orcs armed with grenades. Within moments, only 2 Chimera, 2 Leman Russ and a Hydra leave the bloody field. Only this handful of survivors, including Dammit himself, manage to escape. Behind them, tanks and bodies alike burn. A dozen Rough Riders rallying from the rubble of the HQ detachment ride upon the Cult of Speed and fight like heroes. To their honour, they destroy 3 Scorchers and a couple of Warbikes, forcing the Cult of Speed into retreat, but the only 2 survivors are trapped and killed by the support fire of Kundra's warhorde. The left front has collapsed. The centre of the battlefield belongs to the Orcs. 2 columns of tanks act quickly to cut off the retreating Imperial forces. As they advance, another Baneblade is obliterated. But the Imperial right flank still holds. Heroically, the remaining Leman Russ heavy tank platoon, supported by a large mechanised infantry detachment, engage 2 battle fortresses and 4 battle wagon, and reduce them to a pile of twisted and steaming metal. Turning 180 degrees, the mechanised infantry detachment lays down sustained fire against a rampaging Stomper mob, destroying 2 Stompers. But it's too little too late, as another Stuka of Orc aircraft fly in. The remaining Imperial forces are in total disarray. The Super Stomper lays down a hail of fire upon 2 Stormblade and a Shadow Sword half a kilometre away and forces the 3 super heavy tanks into retreat. The Stuka launch their air attack, 4 missiles striking the Sentinel platoon, destroying 2 walkers. It's over. The Imperial army is broken and thrown into full retreat. More than half their army was annihilated while the Orcs were barely tested. In a final humiliation, with the ragtag of Dammit's forces fully encircling Donati's mercy, Kundra orders them to abandon their vehicles and takes their regiment's standard as a trophy. He then sends them back to their deployment zone. Dammit lives to fight again, but he carries with him a terrible shame. Will any soldier who knows of his disgrace follow his command?